A simple woman dressed in casual clothes was being escorted out of an exclusive boutique by a manager in a tailored suit. Whispers filled the air as other customers stared. "People like you don't belong here," he sneered. She walked away with dignity, her head held high. 1 hour later, a black SUV with tinted windows pulled up. Her billionaire husband stepped out, straightening his designer tie, and walked towards the boutique's entrance with purpose. The morning sun cast a golden glow over Rodeo Drive as Clare Matthews strolled along the iconic Los Angeles shopping district. At 45, she carried herself with quiet confidence, her shoulder-length blonde hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Her white t-shirt, light grey joggers, and minimal makeup reflected her preference for comfort over extravagance, despite her access to unlimited luxury. Today was special. Her husband Robert's birthday was approaching. After 15 years of marriage to one of LA's most successful investors, she'd learned that finding meaningful gifts required thought, not just an unlimited budget. She'd spotted the perfect vintage watch at Elegance, an exclusive boutique known for its carefully curated collection of luxury items. Claire checked her watch. 10:30 a.m. Robert would meet her here at noon, before their lunch reservation. That gave her plenty of time to purchase the watch and have it wrapped. She paused outside the gleaming storefront of Elegance, taking in the artfully displayed items in the window. Crystal chandeliers illuminated the interior, where well-dressed staff attended to equally well-dressed customers. Taking a deep breath, she pushed open the heavy glass door and stepped inside. The cool, air-conditioned interior enveloped her, along with the subtle scent of expensive perfume. A bell chimed softly, announcing her arrival, though none of the staff looked up immediately. Claire moved toward a display case containing vintage watches and jewelry. Her eyes found the piece she'd researched, a rare 1960s timepiece with a history as rich as its craftsmanship. Robert would appreciate both the artistry and the story behind it. "May I help you?" a voice finally asked, the words polite, but the tone suggesting otherwise. Claire turned to see a young woman in a black dress, her hair pulled into a severe bun, eyeing Claire's casual attire with barely concealed disdain. "Yes, I'm interested in that vintage watch," Claire said, pointing to the piece she'd come for. The saleswoman raised an eyebrow. "That particular item is $85,000. Claire nodded. "I'm aware of the price. I'd like to see it, please." Hesitation crossed the woman's face before she responded. "Perhaps I could show you something more accessible. We have some lovely costume pieces that might better suit your needs." Claire met the woman's gaze directly. "I'd prefer to see the watch I asked for. Thank you." With obvious reluctance, the saleswoman retrieved a key from her pocket and unlocked the case. She removed the watch with exaggerated care, as though worried Claire might grab it and run. Placing it on a velvet pad, she slid it across the counter, maintaining a safe distance between Claire and the merchandise. "It's a limited edition. Only 5 were ever made," the saleswoman explained, her tone suggesting this information would surely discourage her casual-looking customer. Claire examined the watch carefully, appreciating the craftsmanship. "It's perfect," she said, her mind already imagining Robert's reaction. "I'll take it." The saleswoman's eyebrows shot up. "You'll take it? Perhaps you'd like to discuss financing options?" "That won't be necessary," Claire replied calmly. Claire Warwood. From across the store, an impeccably dressed man with slick back hair watched the interaction with narrowing eyes. Marcus Develin, the boutique manager, had built Elegance's reputation on exclusivity. He prided himself on recognizing wealth on sight, and in his assessment, the woman in workout clothes examining their most expensive watch didn't qualify. Claire felt his stare but continued examining the watch. After years married to Robert, she was accustomed to being underestimated. Usually it amused her. Today she simply wanted to purchase a meaningful gift before meeting her husband for lunch. Little did she know this routine shopping trip was about to become anything but ordinary. Marcus Develin approached with the practiced smile of someone who had mastered the art of looking pleasant while delivering unpleasant messages. His Italian suit and handmade shoes created a deliberate contrast with Claire's casual appearance. "Is there something I can help with here, Veronica?" he asked the saleswoman, though his eyes remained fixed on Claire. "This customer is interested in the Chronomaster," Veronica replied, emphasizing customer in a way that suggested Claire was anything but. "I see." Marcus turned his full attention to Claire now. "Madam, the Chronomaster is one of our most exclusive pieces. Perhaps Veronica could show you something more suitable for browsing purposes." Claire met his gaze steadily. "I'm not browsing. I'd like to purchase this watch." Marcus exchanged a knowing look with Veronica. Claire had seen this before, the silent communication between luxury retail staff when they had identified someone they believed didn't belong. "Of course," Marcus said, his tone indulgent. "However, we have a policy with our high-value items. I'd need to see some form of verification before proceeding with such a significant purchase." Claire tilted her head slightly. "Verification? A platinum card, at minimum, or perhaps evidence of funds. We've had issues with certain individuals wasting our time." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "I'm sure you understand." A well-dressed couple nearby paused their conversation to observe the interaction, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and second-hand embarrassment. "I don't typically carry my cards when I'm dressed for the day's activities," Claire explained calmly, "but I can assure you the purchase won't be a problem. My husband is actually meeting me here shortly." "Ah," Marcus interrupted, his voice taking on a knowing tone. "Your husband, of course." He glanced at Veronica, who barely suppressed a smirk. "Perhaps when your husband arrives, we can continue this conversation." Claire understood his implication immediately. He thought she was inventing a wealthy husband, a common tactic apparently among certain individuals. "The watch is a surprise for him," Claire explained, her patience beginning to wear thin. "I'd prefer to complete the purchase before he arrives." Marcus made a show of checking his watch. "I'm afraid without verification, I can't authorize this transaction. We have many genuine customers waiting for assistance." He gestured toward the couple who had been watching, who quickly pretended they hadn't been listening. Another customer entered the boutique, a celebrity Claire recognized from film posters. Immediately, Marcus's demeanor transformed. "Ms. Reynolds, what an honor," he exclaimed, already moving toward the actress. "Veronica, perhaps you could continue assisting this patron, or direct her to our sales section in the back." Claire watched as Marcus fawned over the new arrival. The actress, uncomfortable with his excessive attention, glanced apologetically in Claire's direction. "We don't actually have a sales section," Veronica said quietly. "Look, maybe you should come back another time with your husband," she added, with unmistakable skepticism. Claire checked her watch again. Robert would arrive in 30 minutes. She could wait and let him handle the situation, but that would ruin the surprise. Besides, she'd never relied on her husband's name or status to be treated with basic dignity. "I'd still like to purchase the watch," Claire insisted. Veronica sighed dramatically. "I've worked here 5 years. I know a discount hunter when I see one. You're just wasting everyone's time." The muttered words stung more than Claire cared to admit. Around her, other customers were beginning to stare. What had begun as a simple shopping trip was becoming an uncomfortable spectacle, all because She'd chosen comfort over couture for her morning attire. The situation deteriorated rapidly when Marcus returned from escorting the actress to the jewelry section. His expression had hardened, professional veneer slipping away as he approached Claire. "Madam, I believe we've been more than accommodating," he said, voice lowered, but tone sharp. "But it's becoming clear that you're not a serious buyer." Claire straightened her shoulders. "I've been nothing but clear about my intentions to purchase the watch." "Yet you have no means to verify you can actually afford it." He glanced at her simple clothing with obvious disdain. "We've seen this before. People coming in, handling our merchandise, taking pictures, wasting our time, all for social media posts about a lifestyle they don't actually have." A flush crept up Claire's neck, not from embarrassment but anger. "I don't need to prove my worth based on my appearance." Marcus's patience visibly snapped. "Enough! I must insist that you leave the premises, Nietzsche." "Excuse me?" Claire's eyes widened. "You heard me." He gestured toward the door. "Either produce verification of funds or exit my store. We cater to a specific clientele and you're disrupting our business environment." The few customers browsing nearby had fallen silent, creating an uncomfortable bubble of attention. One woman whispered something to her companion, both casting judgmental glances in Claire's direction. "This is ridiculous," Claire said, her voice steady, despite her rising indignation. "I'm a paying customer." "No," Marcus countered, "you're not. You haven't paid for anything, nor do I believe you can." He moved closer, invading her personal space. "Now, I won't ask again. Please leave before I'm forced to call security." Something in his tone, the absolute certainty that she didn't belong, made Claire realize further protest would only create a scene. With quiet dignity, she stepped away from the counter. "The way you've treated me says far more about you than it does about me," she said quietly. Marcus smiled thinly, taking her arm. "People like you don't belong here," he said, guiding her firmly toward the exit. "Perhaps try the department stores downtown." As they reached the door, he released her arm with a small push that wasn't quite forceful enough to be called assault, but left no doubt about his intentions. The glass door swung shut behind her with a definitive click, leaving Claire standing on the sidewalk of Rodeo Drive. The California sun suddenly feeling too bright, too exposing. Through the window she could see Marcus returning to his staff, making a comment that caused several of them to laugh while looking in her direction. Claire took a deep breath, steadying herself against the wave of humiliation washing over her. In 15 years of marriage to Robert, she'd encountered plenty of pretentious people, but rarely such blatant disrespect. She checked her watch. 11:40 a.m. Robert would arrive in 20 minutes. For a moment she considered waiting to explain what happened, to watch his face when he realized how they'd treated his wife. Robert's protective instincts were legendary in business circles. He'd built his reputation on fairness, but was merciless when crossed. "Are you all right?" A woman's voice broke through Claire's thoughts. She turned to see the actress who'd entered the store earlier, now exiting with a small shopping bag. "I saw what happened in there," the woman continued. "It was appalling." Claire managed a small smile. "Thank you for saying so. I'm fine, just surprised at how quickly assumptions are made." The actress nodded sympathetically before her driver ushered her toward a waiting car. Claire decided to walk down the block to clear her head. She wouldn't give Marcus the satisfaction of seeing her standing outside like she'd been put in time out. Meanwhile, Robert Matthews' day had been intense, even by billionaire standards. 3 investment meetings before 11 a.m., followed by a conference call with international partners. But thoughts of lunch with Claire had kept him focused. These quiet moments together were precious amidst his chaotic schedule. At 11:45, his driver pulled the black SUV to the curb near Elegant Boutique. Robert straightened his blue tie as he checked his reflection in the tinted window. At 48, his dark hair showed distinguished touches of grey at the temples, and his well-tailored navy suit complemented his athletic build, maintained through pre-dawn workouts. "Wait here, James," he instructed his driver. "We shouldn't be long." Robert approached the boutique, scanning the sidewalk for Claire. Finding no sign of her, he assumed she must still be inside. Perhaps she'd found something special for herself, though he knew his wife's preference for simplicity often puzzled those in their social circle. As he reached for the door, a middle-aged woman approached him. "Excuse me, are you Robert Matthews?" she asked hesitantly. Robert nodded, instantly alert. Being recognized in public usually meant investors or journalists. "I just wanted you to know your wife was just asked to leave this store," the woman explained quietly. "I was inside. The way they treated her was disgraceful. She walked that way," she added, pointing down the street. Robert's expression darkened. "Thank you for telling me," he said, his voice controlled despite the anger flaring inside him. The woman nodded and continued on her way. Robert pulled out his phone, tempted to call Claire, but decided against it. Instead, he texted his assistant. "Reshed my 2 p.m. Something's come up." His assistant's response was immediate. "Done. Everything all right?" "Will be," Robert replied cryptically. He looked through the boutique's windows, observing the opulent interior and the staff's interactions with customers. The manager, easily identifiable by his authoritative stance, was laughing with 2 saleswomen. Something about their body language, the shared smirk, told Robert all he needed to know. Robert Matthews hadn't built a billion-dollar investment empire by being impulsive. Every move was calculated, consequences mapped out 3 steps ahead. He assessed the situation with the same strategic mind that had made him a legend in financial circles. He could see Claire now walking slowly back toward the boutique, her posture straight despite the humiliation she had endured. Their eyes met across the distance, and he saw her expression shift from surprise to something more complex. A mixture of love and resignation, as though she already knew what was coming. Claire quickened her pace, reaching Robert before he could enter the boutique. "I was just taking a walk," she explained, touching his arm gently. "How was your morning?" Robert studied his wife's face. After 15 years together, he could read the subtle signs of distress others would miss. "Someone told me what happened in there," he said quietly. Claire sighed. "It's nothing, Robert, just another case of people making judgments based on appearances." "It's not nothing." His voice remained calm, but Claire recognized the controlled intensity that made boardrooms fall silent. "No one treats you that way, not even on Rodeo Drive." "Robert," she began, but he was already moving toward the boutique entrance, purpose in every step. Inside Elegance, Marcus was describing his encounter with the obvious time waster to Veronica and another staff member. "The nerve of some people," he laughed, "coming in here looking like she just left the gym expecting—" The door opened and their laughter faltered as Robert Matthews entered the store. Even those who didn't immediately recognize the billionaire investor could sense his commanding presence. His tailored suit and deliberate movements spoke of wealth and authority that needed no announcement. Marcus rushed forward, professional smile snapping back into place. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to Elegance. How may we assist you today?" Robert surveyed the store with calculated coolness before his gaze settled on Marcus. "I believe you just ejected my wife from your establishment." The color drained from Marcus's face as Claire stepped in behind Robert. The staff froze, recognition and horror dawning simultaneously as connections were made. "Robert Matthews?" Clare Matthews, the billionaire power couple known for their philanthropy and business acumen. "Mr. Matthews," Marcus stammered, "there's been a terrible misunderstanding." "Has there?" Robert's voice remained even. "From what I understand, you judged my wife solely on her appearance, refused to sell her merchandise, and then physically escorted her from the premises while making derogatory comments." The other customers in the store had stopped browsing, riveted by the unfolding drama. Veronica stared at the floor, suddenly fascinated by her shoes. "Sir, if I had any idea who Mrs. Matthews was—" Robert raised a hand, silencing him. "That's precisely the problem. You shouldn't need to know who someone is to treat them with basic dignity and respect." He turned to Claire. "Was this the watch you were trying to purchase?" Claire nodded, pointing to the vintage timepiece still resting on the velvet display pad. "Excellent choice," Robert said warmly, before turning back to Marcus with a markedly cooler expression. "I'd like to speak with the owner of this establishment." Marcus swallowed hard. "Mr. Goldstein is in New York this week, but I'm the general manager. I have full authority to—" "Perfect," Robert interrupted. "Then you have full authority to explain to Mr. Goldstein why Elegance is about to face a very public relations nightmare, and why your most exclusive pieces are about to be sold somewhere else." The statement hung in the air, its implications clear to everyone present. Robert Matthews wasn't just a billionaire. His investment firm held significant stakes in several luxury retail groups, and his influence extended throughout the industry. "Please, Mr. Matthews," Marcus pleaded, desperation replacing his earlier arrogance. "There must be something we can do to rectify this situation." "Actually," Robert said, his tone shifting to something almost conversational, as he placed an arm around Claire's shoulders, "there is. But first, I'd like you to apologize to my wife. Not because she's my wife, but because she deserved to be treated with respect, regardless of who she is or what she's wearing." Marcus turned to Claire, his earlier disdain replaced by naked fear. "Mrs. Matthews, I cannot begin to express my regret for my inexcusable behavior." As Marcus finished his stilted apology, Robert nodded curtly. "Now, about those consequences, Bissau," he said, reaching into his jacket and producing a business card. "My office will be in touch regarding your employment status." Marcus blinked in confusion. "My employment? Did I forget to mention?" Robert's smile was devoid of warmth. "My investment group acquired a controlling interest in Goldstein Luxury Retail last month. The paperwork finalizes today. Technically, I'm your boss now." A collective gasp rippled through the store. Veronica's hand flew to her mouth, while Marcus swayed slightly, steadying himself against the counter. "But rather than simply firing you," Robert continued, "I have something more constructive in mind. Elegance will be launching a new program next month. Sensitivity training for all employees, taught by experts in unconscious bias and equitable customer service." He turned to Claire, whose expression had softened slightly. "And my wife has graciously agreed to oversee the program development." Claire hadn't agreed to any such thing, but she understood Robert's strategy. This wasn't just about punishment. It was about meaningful change. She nodded, playing along. "Your alternative," Robert added, turning back to Marcus, "is immediate resignation." Marcus looked between them. Humiliation warring with self-preservation. I would appreciate the opportunity to learn and improve, sir." Robert checked his watch. "Excellent. Training begins next week. Now, if you'll complete my wife's original purchase, we have a lunch reservation to keep." With trembling hands, Marcus processed the transaction for the vintage watch. The same hands that had pushed Claire out the door now carefully wrapped her purchase in premium packaging, the store's earlier hostility replaced by mortified deference as the couple left Elegance. Whispers erupted behind them. The story would spread through Rodeo Drive before evening, a cautionary tale about judging people by their appearances. Over lunch at their favorite restaurant, Claire and Robert enjoyed a quiet moment of vindication. "Was that strictly necessary?" she asked with a small smile. Robert took her hand across the table. "Absolutely," he replied. "Not because you're my wife, but because nobody deserves that treatment." Indeed, the most valuable things in life aren't displayed in shop windows. Character, kindness, and dignity can be found beneath the simplest appearances. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more powerful moments of justice and human connection. We'd love to hear where you're watching from in the comments below. Remember, in a world quick to judge by appearances, your kindness could be the exception someone needs today. The most valuable possession is a compassionate spirit, something no luxury boutique can sell. Until next time, keep believing in the power of dignity.